low, 2000, baby. Eden Palms, Monterey Road, I'm a project, baby. Eagles Drive, we was at Oak Grove, barely graduated. We got Tasha, Molly, Bodie, Corbett, they gon' have to hate us.
Now that we've wrapped up our week 3 predictions, we'll go ahead and move on to ranking the top Western Conference duos. As always, we're going to go from top to bottom, starting with number 1.
PG and Kawhi. I think this is the obvious pick for me. I have them coming out the West. I think they're going to win the West, matter of fact. And it's always a big if with these guys, if they can stay healthy. And that's always an if. But again, you have Kawhi Leonard. When it comes to the playoffs, there's maybe only one other player that I'm taking over him when it comes to the playoff time. Maybe one other player that I'm taking over Kawhi Leonard when it comes to the playoff. You combine him and PG, who to me, that's a top tier wing duo, if not the best wing duo in the league. They're a better version of what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown think they are, if anything. If they're able to stay healthy, I have PG and Kawhi here at number 1. I think they're the best Western Conference duo, and they're a team. If anything, they're the team to beat, in my opinion. But that's just how I have them, number 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Abdi. If these two guys can stay healthy for a full season and get into that playoffs, Clippers team do look scary. They got a squad this year, but with Kawhi and PG leading the way, healthy, do believe they're the best duo. But we'll see this playoff. We'll see if they come this season healthy. Kawhi, I seen a clip of him the other day. He's looking like a monster. He looked like he gained some muscle. It's scary. So I got them as 1 as well. But we'll see what happens.
I'm not surprised we already kicked off and Abdi and Big H are agreeing with each other. This is exactly how last episode.
But the thing is, I wanted to say I have a feeling who you're gonna say is gonna be number 2.
I'm gonna get to it right now. This is actually absurd.
Very biased of you, what you're gonna say.
No, it's not biased at all. It's not biased at all, actually. But I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I have for my number 1. I have Steph and Klay Thompson.
You're
Curry
actually a jokester.
He brought up Klay Thompson.
Either way, no.
Matter of fact, at least say Steph and Wiggins. I'll respect you a little bit more.
Hey, I would have respected if he said Wiggins. I promise you.
To be honest, it can go either way because I know Steph, Klay, and Draymond, they're considered a trio, and we had to break it off for this segment. So either way, Steph, and Draymond, they're number 1 for sure. And here's why. When you talk about success, I know last week when we talked about Giannis and Middleton being the obvious pick, this one should have been a no-brainer. I don't understand why you guys would have Paul George and Kawhi number 1, just based on what you guys have seen these last couple of years. Where's the success when it comes to those guys? You guys questioned me when I said Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving were number 1, but why aren't you questioning those guys? But that's neither here nor there. You guys can answer that after this. Let me get to my guys, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, or Steph Curry and Draymond Green, however you guys want to pick it. These guys, they've been successful in 6 out of the last 8 years, and the 2 down years they were hurt, right? And the only reason why they lost that 2019 championship was because of injuries. So a 3-peat would have happened if they were healthy. And then in 2020, Steph dealt with a broken wrist, and Klay Thompson got injured. And then in 2021, Steph Curry had an MVP type season. We cannot deny that. That guy is a top 2 player in today's game. He averaged 32, 5 and 5. He carried that team into the play-in tournament. You guys bashed him because he wasn't able to come out victorious. He lost to the Lakers and he lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. But what did Steph Curry do the next year when he told you guys, he literally told you guys don't want to see him next year. And what happened? He came in, he had his slumps. Klay Thompson wasn't ready to go up until January. And Draymond Green got hurt in the middle of the year. And once Klay Thompson got back, he looked good for a little bit, but he was still getting his legs back and the shot had to fall. He was trying to get his shot back. And once the playoffs hit, and Steph Curry got hurt before the playoffs, but once the playoffs hit, people had question marks about this team. Nobody had this team winning the championship last year. And right when the playoffs started, people were saying, these guys only played 11 minutes with each other. So what is it going to look like? It's been a while for this trio. So are they going to, make a run at the title again? Are they going to, fold against a team like the Memphis Grizzlies? Steph Curry said, "No, I'm not having that." He went up against the Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. It was expected of them to win. And what did he do against John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies? I know John Morant got hurt, but if you guys want to argue if John Morant didn't get hurt, they were going to lose, I'm not going to have that, because regardless of what happened, Steph Curry went into game 1 and he beat him. Game 2 was a close one, and what happened in game 3? He got blown out by 40 in San Francisco, right? So then the rest of the series went on as it did. The Warriors they won in 6 games, and then Luka Doncic he beat the Suns, and he of course they steamrolled against him. And what happened when Steph Curry got back to the finals again. He put on a performance of no other. Like his game 4 performance was one of the, it's going down as one of the greatest game 4 finals performances in NBA history. He put that team on his back, and like I don't understand why you guys are like trying to like belittle that and put guys like PG and Kawhi over, you know, these 2 guys or 3 guys, however, whichever duo you guys want to, you know, pick. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Steph Curry had a down year last year, but somehow, some way, he came away with the finals, with the chip, and a finals MVP. So I'm not trying to hear the Steph Curry.
That's the funny part about this whole thing. First off,
don't say I'm biased.
The thing is,
last week,
you know what's crazy? Should I tell you something? Should I tell you something? Everything you've just mentioned right now is about Steph Curry. We are speaking about the Western Conference duels. Why don't you mention his bum teammate Klay Thompson next to him? His partner.
I gotta speak about Klay Thompson.
Speak about Klay Thompson right now.
It's
20.
It's 20. You mentioned everything about Curry, right?
Everything was related to Steph Curry.
Okay, but listen, this duo between Steph and Klay Thompson is pretty similar to what Giannis and Middleton got.
No, it's not. It's not.
Come on,
Chris Middleton was their closer that 2021 playoffs. He was the rock.
Klay
Thompson. We saw
Middleton did in that finals.
Klay Thompson is legit compared to the last 2 years. Klay Thompson.
Listen. Klay Thompson is consistent as it gets. Even in the year
2022, man.
Like he played 32, where he played 32 games, he averaged 20 points. Even in a year where he was trying to get his legs back. In the finals, your best player got to show up. And what did Steph Curry do? He just put his boards on his back.
We're not talking about.
I'm not.
If you had an argument of who is the best Western Conference player, sure, go ahead and put Steph Curry there. That's fine. I don't mind that. If we're talking about best Western Conference duels, we're speaking about Kawhi Leonard, who to me, if there's legit you can make an argument. There's no better playoff performer than Kawhi Leonard in the Western Conference. You can legit make an argument against that. When Kawhi got injured in that 2021 playoffs, what happened? Who carried that team? Paul George. We saw the level of performance. Paul George is not. Klay Thompson's not even half of the player that Paul George is. Maybe even not even 1/4 of the player that Paul George is. Like, let's calm down with the comparisons. As a duo, if Kawhi Leonard and PG were healthy, that 2021 playoffs, what happens? They go straight to the finals. They steamroll the Suns, right? And again, you can say, oh, it's hypotheticals, it's whatnot, but we're talking about them as a duo. Who's the better pairing? It's not comparable to a Kyrie KD situation. They just got swept this year. What are you talking about? It's one team that got swept.
Because when I told you when I said I have Kyrie and KD as my number 1 in the Eastern Conference, you were talking about what have they done to be number 1. I'm telling you what Steph and Klay have done.
It's like you're mentioning Klay.
8 years.
You're mentioning Klay, but Klay
I can mention Klay. I can mention Draymond Green, bro. You guys are trying to forget who Klay Thompson used to be before those 2 bad injuries where he tore his Achilles.
Yeah, good. The thing is, we're in 2022.
You have to be honest with yourself.
I think Klay Thompson, he's getting ready to go back to his old self. This year, he only played. He barely played any games. He didn't have enough time.
I'll tell you this right now. Klay
Thompson's
not a better basketball player than Desmond Bane. And I'm really
that's
and I really
ridiculous.
I'm not
that's
I'm,
ridiculous.
and I'm not
Desmond Bane did nothing against the Golden State Warriors.
What did Klay do?
What do you mean, Klay?
What are you talking like Klay was crazy?
That game series. Yo, Klay had a whole.
Do I have to remind you guys about Game 6, Klay?
At least Desmond Bane.
What was he this year?
At least Desmond Bane, he had a back injury this playoffs.
Didn't Game 6 Klay close out the Memphis Grizzlies? Come on.
At least Desmond Bane had a back injury.
When it comes to Steph Curry, bro, that guy Klay Thompson was playing basketball with one leg.
Better than Klay
he was
Thompson.
playing with one leg. This
no, I don't mind saying Desmond Bane is a better basketball. I don't mind saying that.
I'm not agreeing.
But we're talking about duels.
When it comes to
we're talking about duels this year.
Yes, and when it comes I'm saying Klay Thompson. You guys are not changing. You guys are not going to get away with this one because when it came to Kyrie and KD, it was about what have they done, and you guys brought up
and they got swept
as a duo.
And they got swept.
And what about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in 6 out of the last 8 years? You guys can't bring.
Why are you mentioning stuff from 7 years ago?
Because we're talking about success. When you brought up Giannis and Middleton, you guys brought up their success together. Why can't I bring
the thing is that when I brought up KD and Kyrie, I brought up their legit this year. Think I'm talking about 3 years ago only? I'm talking about this year. They got swept. It's not comparable to
and I'm telling you Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, they're literally the best duo, and it was literally shown
hilarious
throughout
like
the playoffs.
You can mention Steph.
You can say Steph.
I don't even like the fact that you mentioned Klay Thompson. It's Steph and Wiggins show. It's a Steph and Wiggins show. I mentioned Klay.
I disagree. If we're
even
going away from
mentioning-
Klay as a
even
duo,
mentioning
it's
Wiggins.
easily Steph and
Even
Draymond.
mentioning Wiggins though, right?
It's Steph and
mentioning
Draymond if we're
Wiggins.
moving away from
Even
Steph
if you
and Klay.
even if you say
Even if
Steph
you
and
mention
Wiggins,
Draymond,
they're
even
not
if
a
you
better
mention
duo.
Draymond, you cannot say they're a better duo than Paul
Paul
George and
George
Kawhi
and
Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
No.
Absolutely
Based off the
not.
skill of the game and everything.
There's
You
no,
pick-
there has been zero success with those two guys as a duo. Their first year was what in the bubble when they blew a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets. That's not happening. Actually, well, that happened to them in the 2016 finals. But those two, it can't.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You made the point for
I
it.
mean, you bring
Appreciate
up
that.
success, right? No, hold on. You bring up
No. I
success,
forgot.
right?
I
They
forgot.
blew
I
that
forgot what
finals,
happened in
right?
2016.
And then
But
2017.
either way, but their success after that, they won back to back.
I'm not counting.
2019,
I'm
they
not
lost.
Yeah, okay. But who was the Finals MVP for those?
I'm
those
not
years?
counting KD's success.
It was
as
Kevin
that.
Durant. But
Thank
what
you, I
happened?
appreciate
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
counting
Who won Finals MVP this past year?
I'm not
I
counting.
mean, the worst year
Yeah.
of the West, but
Yeah.
all right.
Nah,
Without
you can't-
without these
West
two,
has been
without
the
these
last
two.
6 years.
You
Most
can't.
depleted.
This
See,
is
that's
the worst.
That's the thing with you. When it comes to Steph Curry, you like to nitpick all of his accomplishments.
Nah,
You
Steph-
try to,
hey,
you try to
like
run your
Steph-
certain agendas against
No,
him.
how?
And I know
I have Steph as the second
Steph
best player in the
respectable.
league.
Steph
I-
respectable.
We'll go ahead and get to Steph Curry in future episodes because I know we have a lot to say about him. But for me personally, when it comes to the top duo in the Western Conference, and in terms of success and winning and playing great basketball and being great,
It's just,
it
Klay
doesn't get
Thompson
any.
is hilarious,
It
man.
doesn't
Klay
get
Thompson
any
is
better. It
hilarious.
doesn't get any better than Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Just
And for
please,
me,
just end the sentence at Steph Curry. That's all I need from you. Just
it's
like
this my number one is very similar to you guys' number one. We're Giannis and Middleton, and I know you guys are saying Klay Thompson is not a good basketball player and stuff like that. Desmond Bain. When Klay
who's a better basketball player, Chris Middleton or Klay Thompson?
At this point, I'm going Chris Middleton, of course.
We've
But
seen how great Chris Middleton was in that 2021 season. The guy was a closer
Klay-
for them. Why are you
Klay
mentioning
Thompson-
like it's not a
because
similar
Klay- before the-
situation though?
Because before the injuries, Klay Thompson
But
was
that's
was
three
great.
years ago. That's 3 years ago.
That's because he's dealt with injuries. In this past year, even though he barely played, right? He played 30 games in the regular season, and then he played throughout the playoffs. And he was basically playing on one leg. He did not look bad. Yes, he had his moments where he shot
He
the
wasn't
ball.
Klay Thompson. He wasn't
Shot
Klay
the ball
Thompson.
terribly, but there was moments in the playoffs in every series where Klay Thompson came up big for this team. And I'm expecting nothing less from Klay Thompson this upcoming year. I'm expecting him to be better. So if you add in Klay Thompson getting his legs back fully, this is his first summer where he's able to, actually go through training camp, training and stuff like that in the offseason. He could practice without having to rehab and worry about his knee or his Achilles. So once Klay Thompson fully gets both of his legs back from under him,
Who's a better basketball player at this point, Jordan Poole or Klay Thompson?
I'm going to have to go Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's nice.
That's all I really need. That's all I really need.
Yeah,
That's all I
Jordan
really
Poole's
need.
nice like that. But the version of Klay Thompson that we're used to seeing,
We're never getting it back.
We're gonna see him this upcoming year. But we'll go ahead and move on to number 2 because I've said enough about my guys.
Number 2, it's a bit of a surprise, but I have Jokic and Murray right here. Again, I think having a guy like Jokic there, but back-to-back MVP, that says enough about who he is as a player. I know this playoffs he got swept. Actually, he didn't. He won in 5. He lost in 5. But again, he just didn't have Murray and MPJ next to him. It was harder to get success in the playoff. But this guy's a top 5 player in the league, arguably top 3 sometimes if you want that. But Jamal Murray, we've seen how he was playing in the bubble in the regular season before he got injured. We've seen
the bubble now.
Yeah, I'm calling the bubble for everyone but the Lakers.
That's some hater stuff, man. I'm a targeted man on this podcast. I promise you, I'm a targeted man.
I believe the bubbles was legit for everybody besides the Lakers, but that's a different discussion. But Jokic and Murray, I think these two, we've seen the level of ability between these two when it came to the playoffs, both in 2019 and the bubble 2020. It's just been unfortunate that Murray's been injured, but I think when these two are healthy, they're as good as it gets in a duo because you have the best center in the NBA and you have one of the best young shot creators in the league in Jamal Murray. And we know him in the regular season, incredibly efficient. He'll give your 21 points, your 5 assists, and then the playoff time, he's going to show up. So I have them 2 here because I think overall as a duo, they're going to have a lot of success this year with everybody back and healthy.
I'm in a bit of a dilemma here, but I'm gonna pick Curry and Klay. I'm going with them as the second best due to the fact that Klay's coming back off an injury from 2 years. He didn't look too well, but I feel like he said, if he gets that full off-season camp, comes into the training camp healthy, comes into the season healthy, he's gonna be better than what he was last year. And then we know what Curry is. He got the finals last year, MVP. He did almost everything. He had a solid year, solid playoff run, fantastic finals. So I got them going second.
this might surprise you guys a bit, but I have the duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis here at number 2. And the reason for that is, I mean, LeBron James, he's getting up there in age, but he hasn't slowed down one bit at all. I mean, he averaged 30 points last year, and I know people are going to say he was chasing Kareem, but at the end of the day, with Anthony Davis being out for majority of the year, and you're playing with basically nobody on your team, including Russell Westbrook, who was pretty much terrible last year, LeBron James has to do it all, and he's not looking to, Father Time is not catching up to him anytime soon. And for Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, which is always a big if when it comes to Anthony Davis, he's arguably one of the best bigs in this league. He's definitely up there in the top 5. Of course, Joel Embiid, Nicola Jokic, Giannis, they're all better than him. But I feel like he's when he's healthy, he's right there with them. And then, like I mentioned, for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, or Steph Curry and Draymond Green, I gotta look at recent success for this duo. They won in the bubble, and personally, in my opinion, I mean, in the beginning, I thought the bubble ring was like the weakest ring you can win. But at the end of the day, after doing my research and really thinking about it, I think that ring might have been the hardest ring anybody could ever win. Just based on the fact that what they had to play through, and like, the Lakers were the number 1 seed that year that, COVID hit. So basically, once they shut down the whole NBA and they basically played in Disney World in open gym, no fans.
But you call you should already laugh when you call it Disney World. Like,
right? Like they're playing basketball at a
Disney World
park. Like it's crazy to think where we were.
This is not real, bro. Like that's simulation basketball.
Yeah,
like it's pickup basketball. Yeah,
it's
pickup basketball. So like the pressure and the stakes. I mean, we understand like every game matters, but like the pressure, it wasn't as high as it would be if there were fans in the arena. Like they had virtual fans, they had family members come in later on in the year. Like that's just not basketball. Like you can go to our local 24-hour fitness, and the Lakers and the Miami Heat, it could have played the finals game right then and there.
Basically, no fans.
That's just what it was. And like if there was no COVID, like the Lakers, their ring, people wouldn't really question it, because like imagine a game 1 NBA finals in Staples Center. Like that's what LeBron wanted. Like that was his whole mission. That was his whole goal when he came to the Lakers. Like he wanted to bring a championship back, and he wanted to bring the Laker Nation back to the NBA finals, to be a part of it. And their success in the following year after that, it was just because it got derailed because of injuries. Anthony Davis couldn't stay healthy.
Don't forget the Solomon Hill injury on LeBron.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that. LeBron James had a nasty ankle injury because of Solomon Hill, and he never got to recover from that. And so, like, I know their team is nothing compared to those years from the bubble and the year after that. Their team is definitely worse than Russell Westbrook, but just those two alone, like, I'm confident in those two guys, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis is just a bigger question mark due to health, but those two guys are literally unstoppable. And if they were healthy against the Phoenix Suns, I don't think that the Phoenix Suns get away from that series, or even.
I'm sure we were up 2-1 when you went down.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure. I'm 100% confident that the Lakers would have won that series just because of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So I have those guys at number 2. So let's go ahead and move on to number 3.
Number 3, I have the guys you just mentioned, LeBron and AD, right here. Again, LeBron James is going to be LeBron James. Father Time hasn't caught up with him. Someone who, to me, like if you wanted to make an argument that LeBron is still a top 5 player, that's an argument you can make based on his reputation as a player and who he is when it comes to playoff time. I know people are, like you mentioned, are going to say he was chasing stats last year, but that's all he really could have done with that team. The roster wasn't particularly great. Westbrook struggled. Anthony Davis was injured, and when he did play, at times he was struggling himself. But when these two are when they're playing, they're as good as it gets as a duo. You have a guy in Anthony Davis who, again, when he's healthy, can potentially be the best defensive player in the NBA, just simply off his talent. And offensively,
can be one of the best offensive players too, if you want.
Yeah, but then again, that guy's jumper is broke, so there's that. Like he lost his jump shot, but LeBron
got a 6'11" center try to shoot jump shots 24.
Yeah, the guy thinks he's
go down to
the guy thinks he's a shooting guard, but LeBron James and Anthony Davis, when they both play, they're as good as it gets. LeBron's going to be a top 5 player. Anthony Davis, when he's Anthony Davis, is a top 10 player. I know there's been a lot of disrespect on Anthony Davis, but when he's been able to be out there and he's actually healthy, he performs as well as anybody. He's a top 5 talent when he's healthy. But there's a lot of wins and ifs with Anthony Davis. So again, to me, it's a matter of can these two stay healthy? Because I feel like when you have these two on the court together, there's no way you can't compete. And it's just, can Anthony Davis still healthy? We don't know, but that's where I just have them based on who they are as players and who LeBron is come playoff time.
Yeah, for me, I got them at 3 as well. AD and Brown, those are my guys, man. But it's like what both of y'all said. It's if and when can AD be healthy. The past 2 years, we haven't seen that. Past couple of years, he always had knick-knack injuries. On the Pelicans, he was injured a lot. And I feel like that injury bug is still following to LA. So, but Bron on his day with AD healthy, he's a top 5 player. I don't think that's a question. It's, what is he, 38 right now? Father time hasn't hit him, man. It's Brady 2.0, you know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna play to 40, 41, 42. So Bron's still a top 5 player, but it's the injuries and the supporting cast that we have that kind of holding him back. But we'll see what happens this year. Hopefully AD can stay healthy. That's because he can do a lot when he's healthy. And then hopefully he can bang on the block. No more softness, man. No more soft.
At number 3, I have the duel of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray over here. I mean, there's no denying that Nikola Jokic, aka the Joker, is the best center in basketball right now, and he's for sure a top 5 player in this league. But we can say everything about Nikola Jokic, but I want to speak about Jamal Murray. I know the last time we saw him play was in 2021, but we didn't really get to see him play in the playoffs. But what I saw from him in the bubble, that was just something special, and I don't really see that from a lot of point guards. And I know the numbers don't look great for him. He averages about, a little less than 20 points, or I think he averages close around somewhere around there. And the assists aren't really too high because Jokic is a playmaker on that team. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the playoffs, he's one of the point guards that I want on my team. Rain or shine, because I know he's gonna bring it every time. Like every year that he's been in the playoffs, he's gotten better and better. And I feel like in the bubble, we saw it all come together. What he did against the Utah Jazz, I had them coming back in that series. And what he was doing to Donovan Mitchell and that Jazz team was just ridiculous. Like the buckets he was getting were so tough, but like he was making it look very easy. And then again, he doubles down against the Los Angeles Clippers against the guys that you guys are raving about, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And once again, he proves again like why he's a top point guard in this league. And of course, we all know how it ended. They ran into the Lakers, but Jamal Murray, he's one of the best guards in this league. In my opinion, I have him in my top 5. There's a few guys
Who's your top 5 point guards then?
My top 5 point guards would go.
That is crazy. I'm
going Steph Curry. I'm going Trae Young. I'm going to go Damian Lillard. And then I'm going Kyrie Irving, and I'm wrapping it up with Jamal Murray at 5.
Wait, so you don't have Jamal Murray in your top 5 point guards?
I don't have Jamal Murray in my top 5.
So you believe Jamal Murray is a better point guard than Jamal Murray?
I believe he's a better point guard.
That's as funny as
because because at the end of the day, there's things that Jamal Murray can do that Jamal Murray can't do. And I feel like come playoff time, I value the playoffs more than the regular season. Like what you do in the regular season, it's cool. Like on a Tuesday night in Detroit, like if you're going off and you're giving us a 40-point performance, like that's a cool highlight to watch on YouTube. But in the playoffs, I need to know who you are and how if you can't hold your team back. And I feel like that's what John Morant does. But we'll get to him in a little bit. But that's
just BS. First off, they're like, to even compare Jamal Murray and John Morant is just funny. We're talking about a guy who, when he was playing last season, was literally at a top 5 MVP level. The guy, I get you're gonna point out, his team was 20-5, but we seen it come in the playoff time when they really needed buckets in the fourth quarter. They were relying on guys like Jaren Jackson and what's his name, Dylan Brooks, to get buckets for them.
You do know they blew up the Warriors by 37 points, right?
But again, when the game gets close, what matters? You need someone to be able to get buckets, put pressure at the rim. That's what John Morant does. To compare,
that's what Jamal Murray does,
but not at the level,
at a way higher level.
No, to put pressure.
John Morant.
No, Jamal Murray does not put pressure on a defense like John Morant does. Absolutely not. It's not close.
Ridiculous.
Like,
how are you gonna watch? Why are we talking?
Why are we talking like John Morant?
Like
okay,
that?
First off, why are we talking like Jamal Murray is an all-star player? Like, let's slow it down. Like, I get it. Jamal Murray, he played great in the bubble. It was amazing. It was an amazing series and overall playoffs that he had. 2019, it was also very solid. But we're talking about Jamal Murray as if he's like this all-star player, as this all NBA player. Again, he's a good point guard. He's a good point guard. There is no way on this planet that Jamal Murray is a top 5 point guard. And he's better than John Morant, who was just an all-star. I think he was, what was he, second team all NBA as well, I think, right?
Second team all NBA. We're basing Murray off of one playoff run. That's what we're basing. That's crazy.
Previous playoff runs. You act like that was his first year in the playoffs.
But you act like 2019, he was like this 28 points per game score, and we saw John Morant.
When he made the playoffs and they beat the Spurs and they lost the Blazers.
I told you
he was good. He was good. But then what did he do when he made the playoffs again? He doubled down on what he did and he doubled down like crazy. Like what he did against the Jazz and what he did against the Clippers. Like I don't think John Morant could do stuff like that. And I don't think he's capable of doing
John Morant. John Morant, his first year in the playoffs, right? What did he do against the Jazz? What did he average?
He averaged 30 points and he lost in 5 games.
What could he have done that series? That was his fault. He was the 8th seed.
The problem with John Morant, I know we'll get to him in a little bit. I'll keep this short. What's holding this guy John Morant back is the lack of a jump shot. Like I get it, he can get to the basket, he can score at a high rate. He can get inside the paint. But at the end of the day, this is a jump shooting league. Steph Curry changed the league. So you have to be able to shoot. If your point guard cannot shoot a 3-pointer or even a mid-range shot at a high clip, you're not going to be successful as a team. And that's what's holding back John Morant.
The thing is, though, with John Morant, I don't think you're able to fathom the level of rim pressure that John Morant brings to a team. Just the amount of relentlessness every time he goes to the basket, how much that opens. And he's also a considerably better playmaker than Jamal Murray is. And I don't care about this Jokic excuse. Jamal Murray is, if anything, he's closer to a shooting guard than he is a point guard for that team, right? John Morant, the pressure that he brings on a team, like we're comparing someone who's a second team all NBA, a top 5 MVP level player when he was playing last season, to a guy that doesn't have a single all-star, all NBA, and just legit a playoff run from nearly 2 years ago. Like comparing John Morant and Jamal Murray is disrespectful. Like Jamal Murray's closer to someone like Fred VanVleet than he is to John Morant. Let's be serious.
That's disrespectful.
That's not disrespectful.
That's disrespectful because like you're using the fact that he's not a playmaker or he's a better playmaker than Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's averaging 5 assists alongside a guy that's their primary.
He wouldn't be one of the best playmakers in
our league.
He would not be at the same level as John Morant as a playmaker. Absolutely
when it comes to statistics and Jamal Murray, when you look at his numbers, I'm saying things like he's a top 5 player, he's a top 5 point guard.
Top 5 is crazy.
It's laughable, because the numbers don't.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It doesn't show for it. But you got to watch him in the postseason when it really matters. And that's when the lights are the brightest for Jamal Murray, he shows up. And
in bubble basketball nearly 2 years ago.
And he's not going to hold his team back. He was going to do pretty well for himself in the playoffs up until he tore his ACL against the Warriors. I have no doubt about that. And then he wasn't able to play this year. But that's why I have this duel right here, because Jamal Murray, he's a top 5 point guard in my eyes, and you pair him up with the best big man in basketball, a top 5 player in Nicola Jokic, it's basically wraps.
Top 5 for Jamal Murray as a point guard is ridiculous. It's just crazy.
And putting John Morant in there is ridiculous, but we'll get to him in a bit.
As a second team All NBA player, let's put some respect on his name. 3rd seed as well.
We'll go ahead and move on to number 4.
Number 4, this is where I have your boy. I have Steph and Klay Thompson here. I don't even want to say Klay Thompson. It's really just Steph. I don't even want to say Klay. I want to say Wiggins. I want to say Steph and Wiggins, right? But I have them here, right? And again, this is how I'm evaluating this as a duo, right? As a duo, Steph Curry, I give it to him. He won Finals MVP. He proved to everybody wrong that, hey, I'm still that guy, right? I had a season last year where we got to the play-ins and we just couldn't get out, right? And a lot of people blame me for that. He came back the next year. He won the ring, Finals MVP. I get that. Steph Curry did what Steph Curry did, right? But let me talk about this guy, Klay Thompson, right? We have to stop speaking about Klay Thompson as if he's anything more than just a regular all-star player, right? We speak about Klay Thompson like he's this unreal basketball player. Like, to me, you replace a lot of shooting guards with Klay Thompson on those Warrior team, the outcome is nothing different, especially from 2016 to about 2018. The outcome's practically the same thing, right? We talk about Klay Thompson is this, he's that, right? He's nothing more than just a sharpshooter. He's nothing particularly amazing as a shot creator. He's not on the same level as these current shooting guards that we see, like Zach LaVine and Donovan Mitchell and Bradley Beal and Jaylen Brown, right? To me, this duo is legit carried by Steph Curry. We've seen how Jordan Poole was, right? You even admitted Jordan Poole is a better basketball player than Klay Thompson is at this point in his career, right? Wiggins, we seen the impact that he had in the finals. He was locking up Jason Tatum and he was getting buckets. That's their second best player. Draymond Green, obviously, he's not much of a scorer these days, just really practically an energy guy and a defender. But to have Klay Thompson and Steph Curry as like a top one or top even two duel in the Western Conference, when Klay Thompson isn't even who Klay Thompson is just disrespectful to me. But I have him for Steph Curry again carried this duel. He won a ring, won a Finals MVP, proved a lot of people wrong, and he's the second best player in the league. So this is where I have them.
For me, fourth place, yeah, I got to rock with a top 5 back-to-back player, MVP guy, Nicola Jokic and Jamal Murray, mainly due to Jokic, man. That guy's a hooper, back-to-back MVP. Last year, he carried the Nuggets to the playoffs. Was it 6th seed?
I think he might have finished like fifth
or 6th. I think it was 6th.
Fifth.
The Warriors. Oh, fifth. It was 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 5th.
He went to war against the Warriors, man. He hooped. Nobody else on his team hooped. They're missing MPJ. They're missing Murray. I mean, I like the Nuggets a lot. They got a solid squad. So Murray, he's a solid point guard. I do want to see him take that next level step. That he thinks that he's a top 5 point guard. I want to see him extend his game to a 22, 23 point per game scorer. You know, rack up the assist a little more, become a better playmaker. But he's a solid player, so I got them right here at 4.
I think it's disrespectful that you don't think Jamal Murray is able to average stuff like that. He doesn't take a lot of shots. That's the thing with Jamal.
Who's that
Murray.
on?
Hey, who's that on? You got to go get. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
but at the end of the day,
why do we talk like Jokic holds back Jamal Murray? Like,
I'm not saying he holds.
But the thing is,
I'm not saying
if
he
anything,
holds him back,
Jokic makes his job way easier. You have a playmaker and you have a guy with insane amount of gravity, right? Jokic draws a lot of defenders. If anything, he makes Jamal Murray's job a lot easier because he's getting a lot more open shots. He's able to move around because Jokic is going to find them. He's going to be a lot more efficient. That's why Jamal Murray, he shoots like 49% because Jokic is there. Without Jokic, it's going to be like a lot more shot creation on Jamal Murray. And again, you're going to bring up the bubble. But again, Jokic still exists, right? So it's a matter of him getting better next to Jokic. He has to reach that 25 point. Like to be in the top 5 and you've only averaged 20 points like once in your career? That's disrespectful to me. Like you're disrespecting a lot of guys. There's no way that Jamal Murray could ever be a top 5 point guard if he doesn't take that next step of even being an all-star. Forget all NBA. Let's be an all-star first. Let's get that accomplishment down.
I'll go ahead and say who I have at number 4. I have the duo of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard right here. I know Kawhi Leonard, he's one of the best when he's healthy, and we haven't seen him play in a little over a year now. But I have no question marks when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, who he is. I mean, he beat that Warriors team even though they were hurt. But that run that he went on in Toronto, people still talk about it till this day. I think the only question mark that I have is his partner, his running mate, Paul George. I know he had a crazy stretch when Kawhi went down against the Utah Jazz, and they ended up, getting past that series and playing against the Suns, and he did pretty well there. But we know who Paul George is come playoff time. And I don't think one playoff series is going to change that, or it should change that, right? His nickname was Way Off P or Playoff P. Like, people were disrespecting his name based on his performance. Like, we saw what he did against the bubble. Like, he didn't show up. And then the year before that, he didn't show up. Like, this goes all the way back to his days in Indiana. Like, Paul George in the playoffs, like, he just does not elevate his game. And he only elevated his game like once in his entire career. Well, maybe a little more than once, but as of late, since after he went on this long stretch of, being considered as way off P and playoff P, and that was that stretch against the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns. But I can't confidently say that he's going to consistently be that type of player come playoff time, because I know what Kawhi is going to bring, and we all know who he is as a basketball player and what he's going to do to teams. That guy's one of the best players in our league. He can arguably be the best player in our league, right there with Giannis. But it's his running mate that I have question marks. The same way you have question marks about Klay Thompson and how, he's not who he is anymore. I just have question marks when it comes to Paul George come playoff time, because at the end of the day, you can do anything you want in the regular season. You can be the best player, the worst player, but at the end of the day, when the money's on the line and you need to win a ring for your franchise, what are you going to bring to the table come playoff time? I just don't know what Paul George is going to do come playoff time. So that's why I have him right where I have him.
But we've seen Paul George actually be good next to Kawhi Leonard in the 2021 season, though. Like the first series against Dallas, he performed well, and they had Reggie Jackson there. But the next series again, Utah, Paul George was showing up, and when Kawhi went down in that Utah series, Paul George showed up all the way up into the Clippers series. So to me, that and again, in my opinion, those series in OKC, Paul George was getting surgery right after those series in the summer against in OKC, the 2019 series and 2018 series. He was always showing up as hurt in the offseason. He was always getting surgery for those injuries. So to me, I don't think that Paul George is not a playoff performer. I think the bubble was an anomaly, in my opinion. I think the bubble was just not who Paul George was. You could say, oh, but look how he was playing, but I just don't think Paul George was. We saw how great Paul George was in 2021. Even in the playing games this year, we saw how Paul George was great. I just don't think that Paul George isn't a playoff performer. I think he's someone who can show up in big games. And to me, he's a guy who, if you wanted to make an argument that he's a top 10 player, you can do that.
I just got to see more consistency from Paul George.
That's his only issue.
I have to see more consistency because there'd be some times in the playoffs where you can see in games where he kind of fades off, and then there'd be games where he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna take control. I'm gonna play like me." Like
he's upgraded. He has the Middleton syndrome. He's an upgraded version of him.
You know, consistency is what I'm looking for. So that's what it is.
I think that's a great way to put it. Just him being more consistent. So we'll go ahead and move on to number 5.
Number 5, the most exciting pairing we see in this league, in my opinion, Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. We've seen these guys in 2021. I think the Pelicans had a top 5 offense when they simply just could not play defense. That was the biggest issue. But offensively, it's as good as it gets with this duo, right? We saw how great Brandon Ingram was against the Phoenix Suns. The performance that he was putting on, he was averaging like 26 a game against them, absolutely willing his team. And now you get back Zion Williamson, who a guy when we last saw him was averaging 27 on 60% on the field. Like Zion is just a crazy talent. And to me, the people that are writing him off don't realize that this is a special talent that we have in this league, like an absolute generational finisher, one of the most efficient and better scorers in our league amongst young prospects. The only thing that's holding this guy back is literally just injuries. If this guy's able to stay healthy and stay in shape, there's no question that the ceiling is high for these two. So I have Brennan Ingram and Zion here. I think they're going to take another step this season. They're going to be a fun team. They are in a stacked Western Conference, but when you have these two as your scoring punch, it's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I'm going with BI and Zion too. Pretty exciting duo. Waiting to see how Zion comes back healthy, man. It's 27 points in what? How much games did he play?
I think that was the season he played 60 games.
60 games.
Averaging 27, 5, and like I said, he was fantastic. And BI is another guy that I feel like he can take his game to another level this year with Zion as his running mate. And you add the addition of CJ, it's going to open the game up for both those guys. So I got these guys here comfortably, but I'm pretty excited to see what they do this season. Very, very excited. I like the team, man. They got some solid pieces on the team.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you guys on this one. At number 5, I have the duo of Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. I mean, I don't have to speak too much about BI. Ever since he's left the Lakers and that toxic franchise, in the way that, they don't really develop young talent.
You're disrespectful.
It's true though. You guys aren't patient to see people develop over time. You guys want a championship. That's your guys' expectations and your guys' standards. So you guys weren't willing to wait to see who BI would become as a basketball player. That's why you guys traded for Anthony Davis. But once BI got to New Orleans, he knew that he was always capable of being this type of player that he is today. And we're seeing nothing less of it. He's always, showing up. And then I could talk about his running mate, Zion Williamson, all day because I'm a Lonzo Ball fan. So I was watching a lot of Pelicans games when those two guys were playing together. And their connection was something crazy. But enough about Lonzo, more about Zion. People were always questioning about his weight coming into the league. I told people that he can play at this weight because Zion's gonna bully you. He's not gonna be on the perimeter trying to shoot jump shots or anything like that. Like if you get Zion the low block at 285, he's gonna muscle his way and score on the best. Like it doesn't matter how great of a rim protector you are. Like Rudy Gobert he's a 3-time defensive player of the year, and there's a couple of highlights where he bullied him, and you could do the same thing to Giannis and all these other bigs because Zion is a freight train, and there's no stopping him. Averaging 28 points per game on 64% shooting, that's ridiculous. That's unheard of, So those two guys, I'm really excited to see what the future holds for them. They got something really good going right now in New Orleans, especially with adding with CJ. I just wish they re-signed my boy Lonzo, but unfortunately they moved on from him. But I'm very excited for those two guys. We'll go ahead and move on to number 6.
All right, number 6 here, I have Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. I don't rate Karl Anthony Towns highly like that. I think for a big man, he's extremely soft. He's not someone who has asserted himself pretty well, and it feels like the gap between him and Jokic and Embiid as a pairing are just comfortably large. I previously, it felt like they were a little bit closer, and then the last 2 years they've just taken off on him. And to me, someone who's just too much of an outside player. He needs to assert himself a lot more. But the more exciting pairing of this duo is Anthony Edwards. Like, this guy has all the talent in the world and athleticism. He has an amazing first step. He has a good looking jump shot. Someone who, to me, is maybe 2 years removed from being someone who can be one of the better players in the league, if not the best, within the next 2 to 5 years. That's how good this guy is. Amazing athleticism. Someone who, to me, also we see how great he was in the playoffs, right? We've seen this level of shot making and finishing that he had against the Grizzlies. Someone who, to me, is just going to keep getting better and better. So this is where I have this pairing. I think it all depends on Anthony Edwards' growth and less about Karl Anthony Towns, because I just don't rate Karl Anthony Towns like that.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Abdi. I do not rate Cat like that whatsoever. I believe he's one of those bigs that, he thinks he's a shooting guard. He stays outside. He comes out, I'm one of the best bigs at shooting the ball. It's like, man, you're 7 feet tall in the paint, We've seen him get bullied by small forwards. We've seen him get guarded by shooting guards. He can't post up. So, but Anthony Edwards, special talent right there. Special talent, man. He's a hooper. So what Abdi said about being in the top 5 or top 10 in a couple years, it's going to happen. I hate to see him on Minnesota with those 2 twin towers that not going to help him whatsoever. But I got this dude here. I got them better than CP3 and D Book.
Yeah, for me personally, this one was a very close toss-up. But I'm just going to have to go with the duo of CP3 and Devin Booker. I know they didn't, end their season well, but I believe Devin Booker, he's a top 5 shooting guard in this league. And I was definitely arguing that he was definitely like top 3. But CP3, he was the one that really folded on in this past playoffs. Once his birthday happened, like, I don't know what happened to his skill. Like, he literally lost it all. The rest of the series, he was terrible. And I know Devin Booker, he had his moments in the series where, he would do well and he would, dip in production. But at the end of the day, if you were to put the blame on somebody that entire series, it's Chris Paul. But those two as a duo, once CP3 got to Phoenix, he changed the atmosphere for them. Devin Booker's never had a point guard like Chris Paul. So I try to tell people that the Suns, they were always heading in the right direction, especially that year before they got Chris Paul. They were only a game away from making the playoffs in that bubble. And then I think the Blazers beat the Nets. But then once they traded away Kelly Oubre and they brought in Chris Paul and they added a few more pieces around him, that's when they made that next step and they made the playoffs and they ended up making the finals, but coming up short. But those two guys as a duo, it's like a glove, just always just going to fit right. CP3 is going to be your playmaker. You don't need him to score that much this late in his career. That's what you got a guy like Devin Booker for. And I feel like he can score with the best of the best. He's like a mid-range specialist, a good 3-ball on him. And he's just like a shot creator, similar to DeMar DeRozan, but a better 3-ball. So I have those two guys, CP3 and Devin Booker, at number.
We're blaming CP3 for having a horrible series, but Game 6 and 7 against Dallas, D Book was a no-show.
Yeah, but if you take into account like the entirety of the series, though, it was mainly on Chris Paul. Like there was a game in Dallas. I don't have the stats up in my face right now where Devin Booker had a hell of a game, but they didn't win.
5-point game. It was game 5.
Yeah, and he had a hell of a game, but he just wasn't able to win because Chris Paul didn't bring his A game that day. And Chris Paul gets the offense going. He gets guys like DeAndre Ayton involved. He gets guys like Mikal Bridges involved when they're cutting and they're open on the 3-point line. Cam Johnson, and DeAndre. In order for DeAndre Ayton to get open, to get the ball and get his game going, he relies heavily on Chris Paul. Before Chris Paul, they weren't really talking about DA like that. But with Chris Paul, Chris Paul gets in the ball in the right spots and he just hits the right shots. So, but at the end of the day, they ended up choking, and that's what it is. But I have this duel right here. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one.
This is where I have these two. The funniest duel, one of the most overrated duels, if not the most overrated duel, CP3 and Devin Booker. It's just laughable to talk about CP3. CP0, man. This guy, 2021, right? They're up 2-0. CP3 completely just collapses, right? He collapses, right? And Devin Booker, I get it. He had the 240-point games in the series. That's fine. He did his job, right? The whole playoff run to me for the Suns was just a matter of facing the least healthy teams. They faced the Lakers without AD and LeBron hurt, right? The next series they faced the Nuggets and they were injured, right? And the next series, they faced the Clippers, and they were injured. Then they ran into a team with Giannis, right? And against Giannis, they completely collapsed. The next season, right? These guys, number one seed, they're talking the most trash. They're excited, talking about good work after a game, flexing against the Warriors, right? These guys think they're amazing. They come into a playoff series against the Pelicans, and they only have Brandon Ingram, and CJ didn't really show up like that. But Brandon Ingram did what he could. The next series, this is where it's hilarious. CP3. I hate this guy so much, man. He gets 14 and 10, and people are talking about one of the best point guards in the league. Oh, he's an amazing playmaker. He should be an all NBA. He's this, he's that. He gets MVP shouts. Like, that's just disrespectful to me. But this is where Luka Doncic just really exposed them, right? And I don't like the fact that you're just simply saying Devin Booker had his moments. Like, he was no game 6 and 7. Devin Booker was garbage, right? He was not. He was terrible. CB3, same story the entire series, just completely falling off a cliff. And I don't see CP3 coming back to a level where he thinks he's at. He's absolutely not. Like, he's reached an age where it just does not look good. He has no athleticism no more. They constantly attacked him throughout this series. I think the Suns are just not going to be able to stay this up longer with CB3 playing this bad. So this is where I have these two. I think Devin Booker is incredibly overrated as a shooting guard. And CP3, I don't even need to talk about him, but he's CP0. That's all I got to say about him. He's CP0. Someone who the media is a darling for, and yet he has nothing to show for. I think he has one of the most blown 3-1 leads like ever for a player. So CB3, choke artist, man.
Yeah, I mean, is there any other duo I can pick ahead of these guys left, or is this the last option?
You got John, JJ, and you got Fox and Sabonis.
That's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough. I'm gonna rock with CP3 and Devin Booker here. CP0, bro, that guy's just horrible. Every time he collapses in the playoffs, we see it year in, year out, every single time with James Harden, with the Clippers, and now with the Suns. Collapse. And then going back to the game 6 and game 7 with Devin Booker not even showing up, even in that position with Chris Paul not playing too well, you're the best player on that team. At least try to do something. Luka was hunting down everybody on that defense. He kept on attacking him, and he took over that game. So CP3 next year, I see the fall off. We've seen it this past year. I don't think he's going to be that type of player like people expect him to be. I feel like the Suns are going to have a low key fall off this next season. But yeah, we got these guys right here.
Yeah, right here I have the duo of Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. This one was pretty much a toss-up for me between Devin Booker and CP3. I just feel like what we saw out of this team last year, it was good. We saw something good out of this duo. Like they're cooking something up in Minnesota, but I just need to see a little bit more out of Karl-Anthony Towns come playoff time. Like he had his moments against the Memphis Grizzlies, but for majority of that series, he didn't really play too well. It was really just on the backs of Anthony Edwards. And that really can't happen if you're going to go out here and claim that you're, the best offensive big, ever. Like we get it. You're great. You're a good offensive big, but like at least bring it when the playoffs matter. Like that wasn't his first time in the playoffs. He played against the Rockets, and I don't think he played too well that series, if I remember correctly.
Clint Capella outplayed him.
Yeah, see,
it just pisses me off. He calls himself one of the best offensive players in the NBA.
Right? Like if you're gonna talk like that, at least back it up with your play on the court. And I just feel like we haven't seen that from Karl-Anthony Towns just yet. But with Anthony Edwards,
he's so
man,
soft.
Yeah, man, that guy Anthony Edwards, he's a dog, and he's up and coming in this league real fast. Like I know he went ahead of LaMelo Ball, and like I completely understand why now. Just because of who he is as a basketball player. Like that guy he's an insane talent, and Minnesota got a good one for years to come. So I really hope that they build a complete roster around him. I believe they should move on from D'Angelo Russell real soon. And I don't know how that fit between Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns will go. I don't think it'll be good, but I just know Anthony Edwards every night, every game, he's going to bring it. And I have them making the playoffs. So I don't have any question marks from him in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards will be better than he was last year in the playoffs, and that's saying something. So we're going to see him take a leap again, and the sky's the limit for that kid. So I have him right here. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one.
I hope he comes to the Lakers in a couple of years, bro.
Keep dreaming.
I hope. Hey, like I said, bro, throw pasta on the wall. Something's gonna stick soon.
Keep dreaming.
This next pick, I have Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. right here. The reason why I had them this low was simply on the fact that Jaren Jackson Jr., I get like he's like an amazing defensive player, but he's someone who is prone to a lot of defensive mistakes, getting fouled a lot. We saw in the series how against Minnesota. He was getting a lot of foul trouble, and even against the Warriors, he was still getting in foul trouble, right?
I feel like he goes up for a lot of
Yeah,
unnecessary like jump balls.
He does he does a little bit too much defensively, right? But he's still an amazing defensive player. To me, an elite defensive big, but offensively, man, he's just lacking in that category. You cannot be a big shooting 40% from the field. That's just terrible. You cannot be a big shooting 40% from the field. And I think that if they want him to make that next jump, they want this duo to be better and better. He has to take the offensive lead. I know we talked similarly about Bam, but at least Bam's going to get you 18, 19 a night in the regular season. You never know with Jaren Jackson if he's even going to give you 12 or he's going to give you 17, right? We've seen games against the Warriors where he was shooting lights out, and then there's games where this guy literally just couldn't even score on Draymond Green, and he's like 5 inches shorter, right? So again, they need him to be better offensively. But Ja Morant, someone who I want to highlight, an amazing talent in this league, man. A guy who coming into last season, I don't think anyone expected him to take that type of leap. We knew he was going to be better, but for him to be a top 5 level player when he was playing in the regular season, nothing short of incredible. An amazing finisher, a guy who to me his jump shot is getting better. We've seen moments against the Warriors in the playoffs where he was hitting big shots, and we've seen performances. I think he had 40 something against the Warriors in a game this year. So Ja Morant, an ever improving talent. So if these guys want to get better, they need Jaren Jackson to improve. So, and if to be honest, if you have Desmond Bane as the second, that's not bad. Desmond Bane, elite shooter. So I like where this duo is headed. They just need Jaren Jackson to get better.
Yeah, for me, I got JJJ and Ja here. I feel like Jaren Jackson, like Abdi said, 40% from the field is it's pretty embarrassing for a power forward. He settles for a lot of 3-point shots. Like,
That's very embarrassing,
bro. It's embarrassing. Like he settles for a lot of 3-point shots, and his 3-point shots do not go in. He has a fugazi jump shot, and then when he drives in, he doesn't know how to use it.
The thing is, he just looks clunky to me.
It's very clunky. It's very clumsy. It's bad on the offensive end. Like defensively, you see his spurts. You see sometimes like, hey, he plays great.
He's a defensive level, like DPOY level player when he's playing.
He's up there. All NBA, he can be on the All NBA defensive team. Like that's the type of defensive player he is. But on the offensive side, it's just horrible. It is horrible. I hated watching him last year in the playoffs, especially against Minnesota and then seeing the Warriors. It was nasty. So I got him here, but Ja is one of the best point guards in the league. Like I said, top 5, very, very talented player. It's only up for him right now, so he's getting better and better year in, year out. So that's why they're here. But JJJ, man, got to do something about that offense. Like we disband, man.
That guy is so clunky, man.
It's clunky.
He's falling over his feet.
I don't respect big guys like that, big players like that to settle at the 3-point line and not try to,
And he shoots like a kid. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah,
he just shoots like a kid.
It's like a push shot.
It's a push shot, and it's like he throws his hip out, and I'm like, bro, me and you got the same amount of strength. Like, come on. So yeah, JJJ. I don't know. I might put Desmond Bane as the duo for Ja, but JJJ, nah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you guys here. At number 8, I have the duo of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. You guys already spoke about Jaren Jackson. I just want to get to a guy that I think is overrated. I believe Ja Morant is extremely overrated. Especially what he did this past year. People were so surprised and so shocked of what he did in the regular season, as if we've never seen a player like him before. Like his skill set and his game is so similar to the OKC version of Russell Westbrook that people and Derrick Rose and like people just forgot those players, and they just think Ja Morant is something that we've never seen before. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, I understand, like, he can get to the basket anytime he wants it. He's a crazy finisher, and the amount of pressure that he brings at the rim is crazy. And like that opens up the offense. Like, he can drive and kick and find the shooters. But at the end of the day, like I mentioned before, this is a jump shooting league, and Ja Morant does not have a jump shot. I'm going to have to disagree with you, Abdi. I think you said that his jump shot is getting better. Bro, the shots that he was getting against the Warriors, the whole game plan was for Ja Morant to beat him shooting 3-pointers. He will start the game off hot. He would hit a couple of threes in the first quarter. But what would happen as the game goes on? Like, what was happening as the game was going on? Like, his jump shot was not falling, and the Warriors were able to capitalize off that. Like, they can live with people. Teams are going to be able to live with Ja Morant shooting a 3-pointer. Like, you got to understand that. Like, if Ja Morant is shooting like a crazy amount of threes, then that's a problem for the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's a plus for the team that's going up against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, he needs to develop a jump shot, because if you're the point guard,
just so you know, let me point out something. First 3 games, Ja Morant 34 points, 47-34 against the Warriors. So I'm just saying, like,
to say they figured him out like that the first 3 games before he got hurt.
like
But
if anything,
it's crazy.
the
Like,
Grizzlies
you're
series, the Grizzlies Minnesota series was a tougher matchup than it was for the Warriors to give John Morant that, and he does what he did. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's scary.
But the thing is, though, that's the whole game plan when you're going up against a guy like John Morant, a guy that can't shoot the basketball. Like, if he's gonna beat, if the only way that the Memphis Grizzlies are gonna win is with this guy driving to the basket, damn near every play and kicking out to shooters, the Warriors, they run a simple defense. If one guy's gonna try to beat us, that's fine. But we're gonna take away all of your guys around you: Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, Tyus Jones, and the list goes on and on. If those guys find a way to beat us, then that's on the Warriors or any other team. But John Morant single-handedly is not beating anybody in the league with his play style.
That's hilarious. That's a joke. That's a joke.
The fact that he just goes to the basket every single time and doesn't even like attempt to shoot like jump shots or three-pointers, like, that's not going to work. It's not going to be successful for you in the long run. Like, I get it. Like, he averaged the most points in the paint as a guard this year. That's literally insane, like, in a good way and a bad way, because in a good way being, oh, like, he's short, but he's being able to attack all these bigs. But in a bad way being that, yo, in the playoffs, you're going to have to hit a jump shot. People are going to sag off you. When you're running pick and rolls, people are just going to go under your screen. And you just,
honestly, in my opinion, Ja was hitting those shots. Like,
yeah, but the thing is,
hitting those shots.
Yeah, he hit those shots.
Shot, sure, he'll take it. The thing is, John Morant's not afraid to take it.
And you mentioned saying that the Warriors wanted, Desmond Bane to beat him off the ball. Kyle Anderson, who's the Dylan Brooks, JJJ.
Exactly.
They didn't do their part. You have Josh showing up those 3 games that he played. He played fantastic.
That's exactly what I'm telling. You're just proving my point. I'm telling you, the Warriors' game plan against the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm just going to speak from the Warriors for the Warriors. Their whole game plan against John Morant was John Morant's going to go off. We're not going to be able to contain him because he's going to get to the basket at will. But at the end of the day, if he's just going to drive every time, we're going to give him space. We're going to give him the Ben Simmons treatment. If he's going to pull up for threes every now and then, cool, we'll live with that. And that's what happened. But we're going to take away every one of your weapons. Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, and as I mentioned before, like, the list goes on and on. Those guys didn't play well because the Warriors locked in on those guys more than they did on John Morant. And we saw that in the series. John Morant
just doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
the
Warriors locking in on role players more than they did against John Morant. Obviously,
because that's exactly what happened. You think that's crazy, right? What do the Warriors do against the Dallas Mavericks? What do they do? Luka Doncic. No, everybody knows you can't stop Luka Doncic. He's one of the best players in the league today, right? He's gonna get his buckets regardless. You can't stop him, but you have to do your job and taking away all of his guys around him. Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock.
There's more credit to John Morant that he's just gonna take what he's given. Same thing that Luka Doncic. If he's
just not gonna be able, that's not gonna be enough for you to win. And the reason why I'm not,
that's more on his supporting cast to step up than it is against John Morant as a point. Then Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm saying that's more of a point against John Morant's teammates than it is against John Morant, because if John Morant is showing up and you're the one that's like, and we know Desmond Bane, he had a back injury and he was dealing with some stuff, and Dylan Brooks, ugly jump shot. I don't believe in Dylan Brooks as a player. I think he's not that good.
I hate him.
I hate his game. Jaren Jackson just can't score. We know that.
Listen, but when you're playing a team like the Warriors, if on all you're taking are 2-point attempts, you need to be able to put pressure on them. You can't trade 2s for 3s, and that's what happened.
But rim pressure is, I feel like you guys are underrating rim pressure. Rim pressure is such a big thing. It opens up stuff for John Morant to constantly be going to the basket. It legit moves you back. It's like this guy's constantly coming at us, and I get it. 3-pointers more, analytics, 3s more than 2, this and that. But to constantly put pressure on you as a defense, that's critical. And again, John Morant's going to come at you every time. And to be able to lead the league as a guard in the paint, that's crazy. And the amount of efficiency that he had. And let's stop talking like John Morant's John Wall. The guy's better than what John Wall was. Let's keep it.
I feel like we're disrespecting. I feel like we're taking his game
different. Somebody said this. What we're seeing from John Morant is what we saw from Russell Westbrook in OKC, just with a higher IQ. So what's so crazy about that, right?
Did Westbrook have the supporting cast in OKC?
With Kevin Durant, yes, but after Kevin Durant, he left.
In my opinion, him and Kevin Durant were pretty successful if we look at it in the sense of they made a lot of Western Conference Finals and they made a finals. regardless of it was more so about the roster building than it was about Westbrook and KD, in my opinion.
I mean, the whole reason why Kevin Durant left is because, of course, the supporting cast. But at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook did play a part in that because his play style, which is similar to today, what he's doing today, the fact that he can't hit a jump shot.
We're saying KD left because of Westbrook's play style.
That's a lie.
3-1 choke lead.
He's a part of it.
50% of that was him.
Yes, he's a part of that. But I'm telling you what Kevin Durant said himself on his burner account.
He's not gonna. Okay,
like
come on, bro.
Come on now. I'm not making this stuff up.
That dude could have won the championship.
If they build a better roster on those two, they would have won a championship.
Even that 2016 year, even that 2016 year, they had a great roster. It's just
they
came down to Westbrook and KD.
I said one final, but they legit could have went to 3. They legit could have went to 3.
They were a good team, but what stopped them?
It was not Westbrook. It was not Westbrook.
Westbrook was a part of it. I'm not saying he was the main.
So was
culprit.
KD part of it?
No, Westbrook was.
Kevin Durant was not a part of it. No,
yes, he was.
He was not. No, he was not a part of it. He was an MVP player in OKC. What are you talking about?
And Westbrook was an all-star level player with them.
Yeah, an all-star. But this
he
Kevin
was not
Durant.
the issue.
Westbrook was not the issue. He was a part of the issue.
KD was too.
No, he was not. Kevin Durant was literally the best player on his team. He was an MVP player.
You could be the best.
I believe so.
Wait. That doesn't make sense.
Kevin Durant did all he could to beat.
No, he did not.
That team. Don't say he carried Westbrook now. Do not say he
carried Westbrook.
This is ridiculous.
He did not.
Wait,
now we're saying he carried Westbrook.
Bro,
he did not.
I'm not the one that's saying this. This is coming from Kevin Durant himself.
Westbrook held his weight. Let's stop lying.
And the reason why, the one thing that held back the Oklahoma City Thunder was the lack of shooting and the supporting cast around Kevin Durant, alongside Russell Westbrook,
around Kevin Durant and Westbrook, around Kevin.
No,
Russell
Westbrook cannot shoot the ball. He couldn't shoot back in OKC. And that's still the same story today. You're a Lakers fan. You know Russell Westbrook more than anyone.
No, this is not.
Now we're talking about from 5 years ago. This is Westbrook from 5 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
Russell Westbrook, he doesn't have his jumpers got worse.
It's not the same.
He was a way better player 2016. Yes,
way better player.
Way better player. He had
way better
mid-range.
Not compare him to the Lakers here.
But at the end of the day, the league turned into a jump shooting league, and Russell Westbrook could not keep up. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
2016, you're saying KD left because Westbrook was part of the league.
Yes, 100%.
No,
there's
him choking the 3-1 lead, right?
I'm not disagreeing with you that he choked. 100% he choked that lead.
I don't believe.
I'm telling you, the reason why he left that team was because of the supporting cast, and Russell Westbrook played a part in it. But let's move on from those two guys. I want to get back to John Morant. This is my final word about John Morant. The reason why I have him overrated. As simple as that. As simple as this. When it comes to the playoffs, I need somebody as my point guard, a guy that's going to have the ball 90% of the time when he's on the court and facilitating my offense. You have to have a jump shot in this league. You cannot get by taking shots in majority of your shots in the paint and sometimes shooting in mid-range and sometimes hitting a lucky three-pointer. Like, that's just not going to fly. This is a jump shooting league, as I mentioned, and John Morant does not have a jump shot, which is why I do not have him as a top 5 point guard in this league.
But having Jamal Murray there,
Trae Young, even Trae Young, like, what was he against Miami?
Should I tell you?
Are you guys seriously going to talk about Trae Young?
Trae Young's a hooper, but you're bringing up playoffs and shutting down.
Okay, who's a better player, John Morant or Trae Young?
I have Trae Young above him, but listen,
okay,
right? The play style.
We're talking about that.
You're mentioning about the play style, right? You mentioned about the play style. Trae Young's game is predicated on jump shooting, is it not, right?
Yes,
having the ball 90% of the time.
I promise you. I'm saying this as a Miami Heat fan. We would not have no chance of stopping John Morant the way we try to guard Trae Young. We would have no chance at it. John Morant.
What they did at Trae Young, bro. What they did at Trae Young was crazy.
Your mic, Abdi, your mic.
I think you unplugged it?
Do you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Trae Young's lack of physicality was exposed. The whole so-called, he's a jump shooter, he's this and that, right? We could not guard him the same way we would have guarded John Morant. Absolutely not. The ability to put pressure on the defense, I think, if anything, if we played against a John Morant type of player, we would have been in bigger trouble than we would have been against playing a jump shooter. And I really mean that. Whether you put Jamal Murray in that situation, whether you put Trae Young in that situation, the level of physicality that John Morant and the relentlessness to attack a basket is incredible compared to someone like Trae Young. And I still think Trae Young is better simply because he's a better scorer and he's a better playmaker. That's why. But again, this whole jump shotting thing, I think you're making it too rigid. The NBA is not rigid like that. Like, to me, it's about the impact. Like, guys like John Morant and Zion Williamson and Giannis and guys like that. They can
No,
be winnable
don't compare.
players.
Don't compare. No.
They're winnable players.
Don't bring up Zion Williamson and Giannis.
Why not?
Because at the end of the day, you can't. Giannis, I understand that he has the ball and he can't shoot the ball, right? But at the end of the day, like there's the people that he has around him. Like he doesn't necessarily have the ball majority of the time. Like he has the ball the most on his team, but it's not as high as John Morant.
As a point guard, though,
right? And I bring up Zion Williamson. They tried using him as a point forward, but I know this upcoming year they're moving on from that. That's why they brought in a guy like CJ McCollum and Brennan Ingram as well.
My point is these guys are too physically imposing. Like I get John Morant is not as big as them, right? But John Morant, there's a reason why too athletic, too fast.
Those two guys don't have the ball in their hands 90% of the time. They do not have the ball.
But the thing is, John Morant's good enough of a playmaker to have the ball in his hand that much. That's my point, though.
But I understand that he's good. I'm not saying he's garbage. He's just good, but I'm just saying he's overrated. But at the end of the day,
that's fine. You can have him overrated. Just please don't mention a guy like Jamal Murray. Like let's be respectful.
As a point guard in this league, you need to be able to shoot. There's no way you're gonna tell me like that I'm being rigid or something like that. Like at the end of the day,
though.
No, you have to shoot the ball. You have to be a jump shooting point guard.
We're talking like again, we're talking about John Morant's skill set is. Bro, I think you're underrating rim pressure. If we're talking about what we're missing out on, I think you're underrating John Morant's rim pressure and the amount of
but what separates him from the rest of the guys that I have above him on my list is the fact that shooting the ball.
Okay, at least put someone respectable in your top 5. You can't have someone like Jamal Murray. Like, let's be serious here.
Jamal Murray puts pressure on you at the
basket. He does not. If I'm a defense, I'll be realistic. If I'm a defense, I'm way more scared of facing John Morant than I am Jamal Murray.
And that's 100% fact. That is 100% fact.
When I'm coming if I'm coming into the playoffs right now, right, and I'm playing the Denver Nuggets, of course I'm fearing.
If I'm the Denver,
you're not building your game plan around Jamal Murray.
Yes, you are. You are just as scared as you are as Nicola Jokic as you are Jamal Murray, because what he did in the playoffs is ridiculous. Like I know Nicola Jokic is two-time MVP. But Jamal Murray in the playoffs, there's nothing, bro.
But you're trolling now. You're trolling.
No, I'm not trolling.
Did you say equal level as?
It comes with playoff time. Yes.
You know what Jokic is?
Come playoff time when you're playing the Denver Nuggets and you prepare for Nicola Jokic, you have to prepare for Jamal Murray as well. Just equally or a little higher for Nicola Jokic. I'll reword that.
Come on now. Over the 24-hour session, the local fitness.
Jamal Murray made the playoffs
over simulation basketball,
and then he had a better playoff series than Damian Lillard.
He did not.
That's ridiculous.
He did not.
CJ McCollum carried Damian Lillard that series.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You can say he had a better series than Dame, but CJ had a way better series than Murray.
I agree with you. I'm not taking that away from you.
We're talking like Jamal Murray had a crazy series. Like, calm down.
That series,
Damian Lillard was by far worse than him, bro. Like,
I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure Dame averaged like 24 and Jamal averaged like 24.
He wasn't shooting great for Damian Lillard, but we know who he is.
There is a couple bad games for Dame, though.
But listen, again, Jamal Murray, the following year in the playoffs, what he did in the playoffs in the bubble against the Utah Jazz and the Clippers, I'm just gonna have to repeat myself. This guy was unreal. And the reason why was because there was no answer for him. Like for John Morant, the only thing you have to worry about for John Morant is him attacking the basket. And like I said, it's easy for teams to game plan against that. He's bringing all the pressure in the world at the rim.
It's not easy.
If you take away all of his guys, cool. John Morant, go get yourself a 40-piece. That's cool. But what about the rest of your guys? I understand you're a great playmaker, but the rest of your guys, if we lock them up, they're not going to carry their weight.
We're talking like Jamal Murray is like an elite shot creator.
Jamal Murray he can get a bucket. He's a three-level scorer.
He's not elite.
He can get to the rim.
He's not elite shot creator. He's not elite.
And he can shoot a three.
No. Is Jamal Murray a top 20 player in this league?
A top 20, 100%. I'm agreeing. I have him as my top 5 point guard.
That's hilarious.
Why do I not have
DJ cut the beat? DJ cut the beat.
Anyways, I think I've done enough on John Morant. I think he's overrated in this league, and I feel like this duel between him and Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, hopefully Jaren Jackson takes that next step, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll go ahead and move on to the very last one.
Disrespectful to John.
Disrespectful. You guys fall for the hype.
This is the second team All NBA player.
You had that guy over Steph Curry before the playoffs and this whole run that he won. This guy
was a better player. He was a better player in the regular season.
Don't say me.
This guy's ridiculous.
He was a better player in the regular season.
Steph Curry has one slightly down year,
but he has a better season in the regular. He was a better player in the regular season.
It doesn't matter what John Morant does. He's not better. He's not a better basketball player than Steph Curry.
But he is the better basketball player than Jamal Murray, 100%.
No, No. But let's go ahead and wrap things up. Let's go ahead and move on to number 9.
Well, this is where I have these guys.
I feel like number 9. Everybody has the same number 9.
Yeah, Fox and Sabonis.
Fox and Sabonis, merely because I don't think these guys are just like I like De'Aaron Fox a lot. I think De'Aaron Fox, if anything, like one of the more underrated players in the NBA, elite finisher, a guy who is also a solid playmaker. But again, he's rotting away in Sacramento, and they brought in Sabonis, and I think they had pretty good production together as a duo. They just haven't had much time. These could be one of the fun teams. They have Keegan Murray, Sabonis, Fox, Davion Mitchell, but they're not going to be quite threatening in the West like we think they could be. They're going to be one of those fun teams to watch, maybe. But again, in Sacramento basketball, they're not gonna do much. But I have Fox and Sabonis here. I think Fox can take up another step. The second half of the season, he was amazing. So one of those guys who can be a 26, 27 point scorer, but his team's not gonna win much. So this is where I have them.
Sacktown, Deadtown, man. We got Fox and Sabonis left, man. I like Sabonis. I like the European basketball that he plays. Right, he's offensively, he's sound. He's touched on the offensive end. He's a great passer. He's a great rebounder for a guy that's undersized as a power forward in the center. So fantastic player he is. But Fox, he's an average player. He's a cool player. I don't know if he's going to take that step that Abdi thinks he is. Maybe it's due to Sacramento. They're coaching everything. They picked up Mike Brown this offseason, right?
Mike Brown, yes.
Mike Brown's a very defensive coach, but I don't know if he's going to be that head coach that can direct this team to a positive, playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs in 21 years.
It's been a while. It's been a long time for sure.
I mean, Keegan Murray, great rookie pickup they drafted this year. Davion Mitchell's a solid piece. They do have a little fun squad, but it's gonna take some time. And maybe Fox and Sabonis got to get out of there and find some new teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of what you guys just said. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, I just feel like he needs to pack his bags and find a new home. Maybe in New York, if they move on, if they want to pair him up with Jalen Brunson, I highly doubt it. But that was something that I was looking forward to.
4 left-handers: Randall, Brunson.
Oh yeah, never mind. I
forgot. That's too much.
RJ Barrett.
There we go. Barrett, Randall, Brunson, and Fox.
Yeah,
that's nasty.
That's a disgusting lineup. They all can't go right. I just think De'Aaron Fox, he's a hell of a player, man. And it was sad to see Tyrese Halliburton go off this team, but he got better after Halliburton left. So I think that was the whole point of the trade, bringing in Sabonis, just to elevate De'Aaron Fox. And I think those two, as being a duo, the duo that they are, just because they're last on our list, doesn't take anything away from them as who they are as basketball players. They're great. They're going to be good. It's just the fact that they're in Sacramento. They're in really one of the worst team in the NBA, one of the worst teams in the NBA. It's just a toxic franchise, a losing franchise. So people, the eyes aren't really going to be on them. But I think De'Aaron Fox, he can take that next step this upcoming year. And Sabonis, we already know about him. He's an all-star, right? He's good. So these two is a good pairing. We don't know what the future holds for this Sacramento Kings team. So we don't know if they'll move on from Fox real soon, or if they'll just keep Sabonis and try to build around him. But for right now, I have these dudes at number 9 for me. But these guys, they'll have their moments in the season where they make it onto SportsCenter, but that'll be very rare.
Stacked West, so it's gonna be tough. But
yeah, that's just gonna be
one
tough
thing that I wish Dame had a duo, man. I wish he had a running partner.
I was just gonna say I wish Luka had a duo, man.
Luka too. We're leaving some names off this list that don't got. I mean, Luka.
I don't know about Dame, but for Luka, I think he deserves a running mate.
Here's the disrespect for Dame.
Yeah.
The guy that likes.
I mean, he's top. He's a top 3-point guard in my list, but
Luka too, man. I'm excited to see him with Christian Wood this year. I want to see what they can do together. So solid pickup for them.
Yeah, hopefully they get him a superstar and a running mate. But with that being said, any final words, fellas, before we close things out?
Let's get it, man. Week 3.
Week 3, baby.
Week 3 right around the corner. NBA preseason's right around the corner as well. So of course you're gonna be hearing a lot more of our NBA content. What we have in store for you guys. But with that being said, we'll wrap things up here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. We really appreciate your love and support. We'd greatly appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Media Podcast. For those of you that are watching us on YouTube, all of our social media handles will be in the beginning of this video. And for those of you that are listening to us on Apple and Spotify, if you go to our Instagram page at New Media Podcast, you'll be able to navigate yourself to all of our social media pages there. So once again, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now Lakes, now that's overkill.